You know that feeling, right? You're trying to work or maybe just browse online, and all of a sudden, nothing. The internet just stops. But this wasn't just one site. It was a huge chunk of the web, all blinking out at the exact same time. It was a wild moment, and it left pretty much everyone asking the same exact question.
So, yeah, what on earth was going on? How is it possible that massive, totally unrelated services like Twitter, ChatGPT, and Canva could all go dark at the very same moment? It definitely wasn't just your Wi-Fi. Something big, something fundamental was breaking behind the scenes.
And I mean, the scale of this thing was just huge. We're talking about social media giants like Twitter, the AI powerhouse ChatGPT, design tools like Canva, and even online learning sites like Udemy. But here's where it gets really interesting. The problem went way deeper than just the websites we use. Even the internal tools that software developers rely on to build and ship code were completely failing.
Now, when you see an outage that widespread, affecting so many different kinds of services, it usually points to one thing. A single critical piece of the internet's plumbing has failed. So, what was the one domino that knocked over all the others?
Well, it didn't take long for everyone to figure it out. The investigation pointed straight to one name, Cloudflare. And it turns out a massive portion of the internet that you and I use every single day depends on this one company. It's a setup that makes things incredibly efficient, but as we all saw, it also creates a single point of failure that can take down the whole web.
Okay, so that obviously leads to the big question, what is Cloudflare? For most of us, it's totally invisible, but it basically acts as this unseen guardian for a huge part of the internet. So let's pull back the curtain and see what it actually does.
The easiest way to think about it is like this. When you go to visit a site like Twitter, your request doesn't go straight to Twitter's computers. Nope. First, it passes through Cloudflare. Cloudflare is like a security checkpoint, a middleman that handles a ton of important stuff before your request even gets close to its final destination.
And this is why so many companies use them. Instead of building all this complicated stuff themselves, they just offload it to Cloudflare. It gives them a content delivery network, a CDN, which basically stores copies of websites all over the world to make them load faster for you. It's also got a firewall to block hackers. It does load balancing to handle traffic jams. Really, it's like an all-in-one toolkit for running a big, modern website. So if Cloudflare is built to handle massive traffic and all sorts of online threats, what could possibly take it down? You know, the first thought for a lot of people was some kind of massive cyber attack. But the reality was something a little different.
According to Cloudflare's own report on the incident, the whole thing started when one of their own internal services got hit with unexpected traffic. Now that phrase is really key, because unexpected traffic doesn't always mean what you think it means.
Yeah, this distinction is so important. When we hear unexpected traffic, our minds immediately jump to a DDoS attack, right? Where hackers are intentionally flooding a service with junk to crash it. But in this case, all signs pointed to a surge, a huge, sudden spike in traffic from totally legitimate, normal users. It was more like an accidental stampede than a coordinated attack.
Okay, so we get why Twitter and Canva went down. They rely on Cloudflare, and Cloudflare had a problem. But that actually doesn't explain the whole story. The outage had this much deeper and honestly more surprising impact that hit the very people who build our software.
This is the next layer of the puzzle. The problem seemed to be with public websites. So why on earth did the internal tools that build those websites also break down? I mean, what do developer pipelines, these automated systems that ship new software, have to do with any of this?
This little flowchart shows the chain reaction perfectly. So imagine a developer's automated pipeline needs to download a critical file from a service called JFrog. Well, guess what? That JFrog service is also protected by Cloudflare. So the pipeline's request has to go through Cloudflare just to get that file. And when Cloudflare went down, the request failed. The pipeline couldn't get what it needed, and the whole system just broke. It's a perfect example of these hidden, fragile connections that hold our modern internet together.
For all the chaos this thing caused, the story actually has a remarkably fast ending. This wasn't one of those outages that dragged on for hours or days. The internet's guardian managed to pick itself back up with some pretty incredible speed.
So check this out. Here's the official timeline from Cloudflare. They rolled out a fix at 1442 UTC. Just 15 minutes later, at 1457, the entire incident was declared resolved. 15 minutes! The internet went from widespread chaos to back to normal in about the same time it takes to grab a cup of coffee. So yeah, the good news is that for the huge majority of websites and services, the problem was fixed almost instantly.
The report did mention that some customers might have still seen some weirdness as everything settled back to normal, but for the most part, the crisis was over.
And all of this leaves us with one final, and I think really important question. We just watched one single company's failure break a huge piece of the internet for millions of people, even if it was just for 15 minutes. It's a pretty stark reminder of just how interconnected and maybe how fragile the web we rely on every single day truly is.